Hello, Lionheart. I missed your face. I can't see your face, but you can see mine. But welcome back to the Uncaged Me, where virtuous women are dominating in purpose, passion, and purity because Jesus didn't save us on layaway, so we are not waiting around for salvation, right? We're not waiting around for deliverance because He paid full price for us to live full lives. So we are all about that life around here. So I wanted to just jump on today to really encourage you to get ahead this year because we've been focusing on a confidence series. It was supposed to be a month. It's been just this whole, series of really empowering us to walk bold and really walk uncaged as the righteous are called to do. Because of my favorite verse, Proverbs 28:1, the righteous are bold as a lion. Right? So this confidence series has taken off, and I've just been, deciding to just go with it and really give you some strategies for walking into this year confidently. And one of the biggest things that keep confident women empowered and keep them just courageous to go after more and more is that they are getting ahead. They are actually making progress on their goals, on their convictions, on their calling, which just builds that momentum to continue to make more and more change confidently. They realize the difference a day can make. They realize the difference a week, a year can make. And so they confidently focus themselves on making progress and not getting stuck on perfectionism or procrastination, right? So if you even want some tips on confident speaking, you can check out the Confidence Cure Challenge that's happening right now. The I is in the top corner of this video. But I wanted us to just dive into what are some strategies that confident women use to really get ahead. How do you push past just being inspired all year and just being motivated and, getting just 20 starts on 20 different resolutions, but actually not making any progress? That leads to change, right? You want to actually get ahead in a way that's going to help you finish this year. And so one of the first keys to getting ahead is getting started. You want to get started, beloved. It is time. It is time. It is going to be time to cut out those newsfeed and timelines that are just inspiring you and making you think you're researching and just getting, more strength to start. They're just holding you back. To get ahead, you just have to get started. You just have to get started because real growth, real progress, real knowing what to do comes from implementation. It does not come from inspiration. And so it doesn't matter how much you read, it doesn't matter how much you plan, it doesn't matter how much you get motivated and get that new planner and really have things laid out perfectly. You don't really grow in that thing, you don't really grow in that area until you implement, until you put some action to it. That's where in the doing you now actually seeing some faith with works going on and some things start to manifest that God has put on your heart. That's where the manifestation happens. That's where faith comes to life. That's where you now start to see the evidence, things unseen, which is what we as women of God focus on, right? So you want to just get started with what you have, with where you are, with the people in your life. You want to just make a decision that I've been given this idea, I've been given this call, I've been given this strategy for a reason because God wants to implement it. And so after you've done, your due diligence of just making some preparations, go ahead and start. Go ahead and start because that's where you're going to actually grow the most in knowing what to do, right? Which leads to the second way that confident women get ahead. So the first way is they get started. The second way is that they get solution minded. They get solution minded. They get a mindset that realizes that I serve a God of answers, and so I am not going to get stuck this year focusing on the problems and the excuses and the complaints of everything that is going wrong and everything that is not perfect, because everybody is going through that. And so I'm not going to allow that to stop me, because successful women, they push push forward despite the unexpected life events. They push forward despite the surprises that are going to come, despite, the obstacles that are going to come. So stop letting that surprise you. You realize that your God isn't nervous about what he's going to do to figure this out. You realize God isn't anxious about how are we going to get past this. And once you lock into that reality that you serve a God who isn't trying to figure out how to get out of this. He isn't trying to figure out a solution. He has a solution. And he has confidently said, if any man lacks wisdom, let him come to me and ask, and I will give it freely and without reproach. That's James 1 verse 5. So we focus on solutions. We focus on saying, okay, God, this is, what I see. What is the strategy that you have for us to get past this and to get around this and to get through this with shrewdness and with a savvy, spiritual mindset that knows there's a way, knows that the spirit isn't limited to these physical structures, these physical, systems. He's so much bigger. He has a bird's eye view. So he knows what needs to be done to get past whatever is in front of you right now. So really decide to abandon your complaints and your excuses this year and just commit to instead, in a moment that you're getting overwhelmed because you don't see the way forward, to pause and ask God for the solution. Ask him for the next step that you need to focus on, right? So the first way that confident women get ahead is they get started, because growth comes from implementing and not just being, inspired. The second way is they get a solution mindset. And the third way is they get settled on finishing one thing at a time. They just get settled on it. That I am not here to have it all. I'm not here to have it all at the same time, despite what the world tries to tell me. That's not how we're wired. We have been specifically limited to specific resources, to specific talents, to specific energies that God has given us to complete a specific task for this specific season. He doesn't want us doing it all. That's his job, right? Our job is to just receive from him what in this season is important, what in this season is essential, what in this season has he burdened us with, what in this season are we called to serve based on who we see around us and based on the resources at our disposal and based on the time he has given us and the breath he's put in our lungs, right? And based on that, we say, okay, I'm going to settle on this one thing that seems very important to God, that he's asked me to get it done. It's not a light thing if God's asked me to get it done. I don't care how small it is. It is not a light thing if God has given you the idea and the strategy for completing it, right? And so to get ahead in that, we're going to settle that we're going to finish it. We're not just going to start well, we're going to finish well, because God isn't coming back to say, well started, my good and faithful servant. He's not going to say, well planned, my good and faithful servant. He's not coming back to say, well said, my good and faithful servant, right? He is coming back to see servants that were on the job until it got done, so he can say, well done, good and faithful servant, no matter how small the task, right? So to get ahead, we are going to get settled on finishing whatever it is we believe God has put on our hearts for this season. And, we're going to really commit to allotting a time slot to it. Really, that's how you get things done. You allot a deadline, you allot some dates, specific dates, not someday, but specific dates, because someday never comes, right? But specific dates actually come around, and it gives you that accountability and that conviction to actually get things done. So let us commit to getting ahead this year and finishing strong in God's grace, in God's goodness, and in his solutions that he so wants to get in us and through us to serve and benefit, the culture that we are in. I love you. I will see you next time, and be sure to follow up with the Confidence Cure Challenge again and really get some tips for speaking with clarity, courage, and conviction this season. All right, Lionheart, bye.